The word didn't just echo, it thundered through Westminster today as Keir Starmer faced the most brutal humiliation of his political career. This wasn't polite disagreement. This wasn't debate. This was fury, raw and unfiltered, hurled right into his face by the very people who once trusted him. Booed off, jeered at, cornered by protesters, screaming betrayal, the man who promised to unite Labour was forced to walk through a storm of rage that no leader could survive unscarred. If you thought British politics was messy before, buckle up, because what happened outside Parliament today has taken us into uncharted territory. The scene was unlike anything Westminster has seen in decades. Hundreds of Labour members, lifelong supporters, furious and broken-hearted, stood shoulder to shoulder. These weren't random hecklers. These were card-carrying Labour loyalists, people who delivered leaflets in the rain, knocked doors until their voices cracked, and defended their party through thick and thin. Today they came not with banners of hope, but with signs that read one damning word. Keir Starmer arrived expecting to project strength, but the crowd was waiting. The moment he stepped out of his car, the atmosphere turned volcanic. The boos began low, then swelled like a wave crashing over him. "Shame on you!" cried an elderly man leaning on a walking stick, his voice trembling not with age, but with rage. A young woman, tears streaking down her cheeks, screamed, "You betrayed us!" Starmer's mask slipped for the first time. The confident smile faded. His eyes flickered with shock as the fury of his own supporters tore into him. This wasn't an isolated protest. This was the boiling point of years of disappointment. Labour's base, once filled with energy and belief, has turned against the man they thought would rebuild their party. The betrayal didn't happen overnight. It was a slow unravelling. A steady stream of broken promises, each one cutting deeper than the last. From the moment Starmer abandoned his leadership pledges, public ownership, abolishing tuition fees, workers' rights, it was only a matter of time before the revolt arrived on his doorstep. Today, it exploded in his face. Margaret Thompson, 67, who travelled hours from Manchester, summed up the heartbreak. "I gave 40 years of my life to Labour. I believed this man when he said he would stand for us. Now I feel sick. He's not just let us down, he's sold us out." Her words cut through the noise, a reminder that behind every chant and every jeer lies real lives, real sacrifices, and now real disillusionment. Inside Labour HQ, panic is spreading faster than fire. Sources close to senior MPs admit the mood is catastrophic. One insider put it bluntly, "We've lost the members, he's finished." Polling numbers tell the same story, membership collapsing, youth voters abandoning ship, trust evaporating. Starmer was supposed to be Labour's saviour. Instead, he has become the face of betrayal. The fury today wasn't about one policy or one speech. It was about a pattern. Gaza, Brexit, workers' rights, tuition fees, public ownership. Each U-turn another knife in the back of those who believed in him. The final straw came with his support for means-testing winter fuel payments, a move seen as outright cruelty towards pensioners. For many, that was unforgivable. How could the leader of the Labour Party side with austerity measures that leave millions of elderly people choosing between heating and eating? That was the betrayal that broke the dam. The footage outside Parliament was devastating. Starmer, visibly shaken, forced to walk through a tunnel of rage. Former supporters screaming "traitor" inches from his face. This wasn't politics as usual. This was a leader publicly disowned by his own people, stripped of authority, drowning in boos. The cameras captured every grimace, every flinch, every step that looked more like a walk of shame than a show of leadership. The symbolism couldn't be clearer. The man who promised to unite Labour is now the one tearing it apart. He wasn't being booed by Conservatives or political rivals. He was being booed by Labour's soul. The ordinary members, the grassroots, the very people who give the party its heartbeat. And once a leader loses the base, can he ever recover? Tonight, MPs are asking themselves the same question. Is this the beginning of the end? Can Labour survive a leader, branded a traitor by his own members? The whispers in Westminster are growing louder. Leadership challenges, emergency meetings, a party on the edge of collapse. But here's the truth nobody in Labour HQ dares to say aloud. This isn't just about Keir Starmer. This is about whether the Labour Party itself can survive what he has done to it. And if you thought today's scenes were shocking, wait until you hear what's coming next. The chants outside Parliament didn't fade as Starmer disappeared through the heavy doors. They grew louder, angrier, as if the walls of Westminster themselves were trembling. "Traitor! Traitor!" echoed like a war cry. And the message was unmistakable. The people who once lifted him up are now determined to drag him down. Inside, the atmosphere was no calmer. Shadow cabinet members sat in stunned silence, furious at being blindsided yet again by Starmer's political choices. WhatsApp groups buzzed with disbelief. Some MPs demanded answers. Others spoke in hushed tones of no-confidence votes and leadership challenges. One senior Labour figure summed up the mood in a single sentence. He's finished, he doesn't have the people, and without the people, he doesn't have the party. But this wasn't just about one dramatic morning, this was years in the making. Starmer promised to honour the radical pledges that swept him into leadership: public ownership, free education, a Green New Deal. Instead, one by one, those promises vanished. Each betrayal was sold as pragmatism. Each U-turn dressed up as electability. But members saw through it, they weren't fooled. And today their fury boiled over in a way that cannot be spun away. Look back at the numbers. Labour membership has collapsed by nearly 200,000 under Starmer's watch. That's not apathy. That's revolt. That's thousands of dedicated activists ripping up their membership cards and walking away in disgust. Young voters, once energised by the promise of a party that dared to be different, now say Labour feels no different to the Conservatives. For many, Starmer's Labour has become the very thing they joined to fight against. The betrayal over Gaza earlier this year lit the first fire. Starmer's refusal to back a ceasefire, his punishment of MPs who spoke out for human rights, shattered trust among Muslim voters and young activists. Councillors resigned in protest. Constituency parties passed motions of no confidence. That was the warning sign. But instead of listening, Starmer doubled down. And now the storm has consumed him. Today's humiliation over winter fuel payments may be the final straw. Imagine being a pensioner who worked all your life, paid every tax, trusted the system, and now you're told the little help you rely on to survive the winter might vanish, endorsed by the very party that once claimed to stand for you. That's not just a policy dispute. That's betrayal at the deepest level. That's why the protesters today weren't shouting about politics. They were screaming about survival, about dignity, about betrayal that cuts into their very lives. Listen to the voices outside Parliament. An elderly woman shaking with rage shouted, "I've been Labour since I was 16. You've destroyed us." A young man, barely out of university, yelled, "We gave you everything, time, energy, trust, and you spat it back in our faces." These weren't stage-managed stunts. These were ordinary people, ordinary Labour members, exploding in anger at a leader they can no longer stomach. The damage isn't just emotional, it's electoral. Recent polls show Labour's once comfortable lead over the Conservatives has been slashed to single digits. Think about that. The Tories, drowning in scandal and presiding over a cost of living crisis, should be buried politically. And yet, thanks to Starmer's failures, they are still in the game. If Labour can't win big now, when will they ever? And if Starmer can't unite his own party, how can he ever unite a country? The truth is simple and brutal. The revolt has begun, and it may already be too late to stop it. Local Labour branches are openly defying Starmer. Councillors are resigning in disgust. Grassroots groups are forming across the country, vowing to take Labour back from what they see as a hollow, unprincipled leadership. In Liverpool, they call it Operation Red Wall, not to defend Labour from the Tories, but to defend Labour's values from Starmer himself. Similar movements are spreading in Manchester, Newcastle, Glasgow. The rebellion is real, it is organised, and it is growing. On social media, the backlash is unstoppable. Starmer out. Trends across platforms. Viral TikTok videos of pensioners explaining how they'll suffer without fuel payments are being shared millions of times. Each clip is another nail in the coffin of Starmer's credibility. In an age where narratives move faster than politicians can react, Starmer has lost control of his own story. He is no longer the leader shaping events. He is the villain being consumed by them. And yet, perhaps the most devastating blow is not the boos, not the chants, not even the collapsing poll numbers. It's the sense of betrayal that lingers like a shadow. Labour was always supposed to be the party of ordinary people, the party of compassion, the party that stood against cruelty and injustice. For decades, even through defeats, that reputation endured. But under Starmer, that image is cracked.